Welcome to the CEO Crowd Show. It's your host and coach, Rebecca Nesbitt here. And today's conversation is a spin on how to wake up at 4 a.m. Instead of your typical set an earlier an alarm, leave it at the other side of the room, just do the 5 second rule. We're going to get into the details that the gurus really do skip over because these are fundamentals that are being missed. So let's do that in 3 steps and get started, because if you want to wake up earlier and you're sick of the fluff, then this, my friend, is for you. So step one is to consider who you are. Feels like an existential crisis, but genuinely, we're just talking biology right now. So don't get too panicked. Nobody is talking about this when they're talking about morning routines, and it is fundamental. Nobody is talking about cycles of energy. If you've been listening to bro hustle culture speakers, there's nothing wrong or bad about that. I love it myself too, but there is some missing information that is fundamental. And like I said, that is biology. It's easier to keep the same routine every single day when you can bank on your energy being the same every single day, which is what the male hormonal cycle is great at, meaning that their energy is highest in the morning for the morning routine. My husband literally wakes up like the Energizer Bunny, so I know this to be true. Then it wanes throughout the day, and I again know this to be true through my husband. At the end of the day, he's like, I just want to go to bed. I don't want to have complex conversations or like late in the evening. I want to sleep. And then that energy is replenished through sleep, and then the same the next day. Energizer Bunny in the morning, no difficult conversations in the evening, please. So men can bank on their energy essentially being the same. That is obviously on a fundamental level. If they have gotten less sleep, if they haven't eaten as much, if they've eaten too much, obviously they're all variable factors. But we're just coming down to like this very simple part of biology that we're ignoring, because the female hormonal system, which takes typically 28 days to cycle through, means that our energy is all over the place, depending on what phase we're in. Sometimes you're genuinely going to need more sleep. Sometimes you'll feel more drained. Sometimes the exercise will seem pointless. Sometimes you'll feel like you could run all dang day. Sometimes you'll want to reflect for hours. Other times you'll want to do all of the work in 30 minutes. And this is different, of course, for every woman. So let's be mindful that everyone's an individual. And what I would say is, to learn more about hormonal health, then do check out one of our CEO Crowd members, Renata at Nourish with Renata. I'll put her details in the description for a little bit more insight into this. But this is where we're starting, because if you feel like your energy should be the exact same every day and you are a female entrepreneur, my friend, you're already setting yourself up for failure, and you're not just considering who you are biologically. And that is something to be given consideration. There are going to be times where your energy is so much higher. There are probably times where you're like, waking up at 4 a.m. is so easy. Or maybe you've never said that in your life, but waking up early is so easy. I wake up naturally and it's wonderful. And then other times I feel like I could sleep all day and I just can't drag myself out of bed. Now, that could genuinely be if it gets that far a hormonal imbalance. So definitely please speak with Renata. But let's just be conscious of who you are and also who you're listening to when it comes to morning routines. If there's someone who is a man or has a lot of heavy masculine energy, that their willpower is just more resilient, whether it is a product of conditioning or genetics, then they might be leading you down this avenue of you just have to do it, when your body might be saying something different. So then we'll come to step two, because first of all, we kind of had we had like alignment with who you are, but we want to talk a little bit more in detail about alignment as step two. Because my question is like, why 4 a.m.? Like, genuinely question why. Is it because it's something you genuinely want? Is it because it's to do something that you don't make time for and you want to do and there aren't enough hours in the day? Is it because you think it's something that you should do because all of the gurus are waking up at 4 a.m. and they're posting their selfies and you should be awake at that time too? When you're making any decision, it's really important to check in on your alignment. And that means, does this line up with or make sense with what you want and why you want it? Do those things line up? Because if I'm to look at my life, and the reason that people ask me at 4 a.m. is because I wake up at 4 a.m. So this is accurate for me. I want to wake up at 4 a.m. so I can go to CrossFit at 5 a.m. Our CrossFit gym is 35 minutes from us. So I want to wake up and, brush my teeth and such things before getting in the car and be semi awake for driving a car or for at least being a passenger and being semi cognizant with my husband. So I want to wake up at 4 a.m. to go to CrossFit at 5 a.m. 3 times per week. This is accurate for us because I really enjoy it. It's time that I get to spend hanging out with my husband, and I wake up, like I said, at 4 so I can get there for 5. And I also don't love the later classes because they feel like they really eat into my working day. So this is an appropriate time for me. 4 a.m. aligns with what I want. So I'm just asking you why 4 a.m. is important to you. And I also want to get really granular because people look at our life and they look at us waking up at 4 a.m. and we have conversations about it quite regularly. We'll drop it in an Instagram story. Our friends will question us, or we'll talk about CrossFit and we'll post being at CrossFit at 5 a.m. People are like, why are you working out so early? This is wild. So people genuinely ask these questions, and I think that you have to ask yourself the question why it's important to you. It's clearly important to us, but I want to get really granular and say there's only one thing that trumps this alignment, because people don't talk about this, is the days that they don't do it, because humans are aspirational. So I had a coach explain it to me like this once, that humans are aspirational. So if you ask them how many times they work out in a week, they'll be like, oh, I work out like 5 times. But if you ask them, how many times did you work out last week? Then they're like, well, I worked out twice. I tried to go that third time, but the car wouldn't start. I was going to go after work, but then I was tired. And that fifth time I was going to go with a friend and they bailed, so I didn't bother. So you get a very different story based on the question that you ask. And when it comes to your morning routine, I think it's really important that we open up the door and say, there are days where this doesn't happen. And the only thing that trumps my 4 a.m. wake up is a physical pain flare up. So if I'm in pain, if you've not been here before, then I have a chronic pain diagnosis where for me it presents as my skin feeling like it's on fire, dizziness, nausea, brain fog, all the fun things. So rest and taking care of myself trumps all other things on days like that. It will trump CrossFit, it will trump waking up at 4 a.m. because I think the key in alignment is that a morning routine should be life enriching, not slowly draining. So I just want to point out this very specific thing that people want when they're looking at a morning routine. It's because they want to do more things and they need more time. So they're going to cut into their sleep. And step 3 is the reason why I really don't think you should do that. And we need to have a conversation about it in terms of energy. But let's have a conversation about that in terms of alignment. Like I said, a morning routine should be life enriching. It should not be slowly draining. And the less sleep that you get over time is significantly impactful on your mental health and well-being overall physically. So just things to consider while we come into step 3. So if you're someone that's just like, I need more hours and I'm going to cut into my sleep, please don't use these tips. Like I'm just going to ask you, please get your sleep. But if you are someone who's like, yes, once you have like recognized your energy levels, your alignment is there, and the 4 a.m. is still on your vision board, what is step 3? It is time to reparent yourself. It's not actually just about waking up. It's about going to sleep. Going to bed earlier always throws people off because, like I said, most people want to wake up earlier, get less sleep, and sacrifice in the name of getting more things done. Side note, your brain needs an average of 8 hours and 15 minutes to clean itself overnight. So you might function okay on less sleep, but there is a process that your brain goes through where it literally cleans itself overnight, and it needs 8 hours and 15 minutes to do that. So taking time away from this process is really not the way to go. And I understand that everyone has different variables on their sleep. Some people are like, I can't sleep, I struggle to sleep, I wake up, I have small children. There are lots of variables. I'm just I'm just saying that we all actually need that time for the cleaning process. So you can argue with a fact if you want. That's fine. Like you can argue for your limitations and no shade. But if you want to wake up earlier because it aligns with you and not because you're cutting out sleep because you've got so much to do and you're so stressed out, then cutting out sleep is actually the last thing that you need to do, my friend. But if it aligns with you, you have to reparent yourself. So let me take you back to every Christmas Eve of my entire life that I can remember. I never want to go to sleep because hello, Santa. And now there may be kids listening, so FYI, presents and a day off. I am very excited by those things. Obviously, gifts are one of my love languages. And my parents, and to be honest, now my husband, will tell me to go to bed on Christmas Eve earlier than I want to because I just want it to be Christmas. Do I also have other things that I feel need to be done? Yes, because I'm a freaking adult. But from being little and wanting to be the goodest girl possible at the last minute to get an extra present, I thought that would work, to now just being an adult with stuff on my plate. You have to down tools and go to bed so that you can be in alignment the next day, so that you can wake up at the time that you want to wake up. And if you want to argue like a child about it, because I do this sometimes, this is absolutely accurate of me, and this is why I'm being so blunt about it. If you want to argue, then don't wake up earlier. Go to bed later and use that as your measure of, that you're winning instead of the getting up earlier with the less sleep. Because a bonus knowledge nugget, and this is for everyone who's a night owl, because this absolutely comes up whenever you speak about morning routines. Some people are like, I don't go to sleep till like 11 p.m. and then I really struggle. Then my answer to this, for me personally, because I was the same, I used to work in a bar and I remember that I would come home. So at the time, I worked full time, I worked in a bar part time, and I was going through university. And on a Saturday night, then if I didn't go out clubbing with my friends after, then I would come home from the bar. I would work on my schoolwork and then I would like fall asleep for as long as, and then I'd wake up at goodness knows what time on the Sunday because I was like, I have the energy to do my university work now. And this is, I think I finished at like 1 a.m. So by the time I get home, it's like 1:30 because I definitely stopped to get chips. I'm not gonna lie, on the way home, because that's all I wanted my tips for was so I could afford chips at the end of the night. And I would get home and I'd be like, this is a great time to work. And I could never understand why, because who is sitting doing university work apart from like full-time university students? Actually, that's a terrible analogy, but who wants to sit down after they have worked an entire week, worked 2 nights at the weekend to then do university work on a Saturday early hours of the morning or Sunday early hours of the morning? Like, not normal. So as I've been on my journey and I've started to learn more about energy and about myself, and a part of my journey took me on a journey with Ayurveda. So, Ayurveda is an ancient medical system where they believe in 3 energy types called doshas. And for the purposes of this conversation, these doshas can be related to times in the day. So, this is way deeper. If you have questions on Ayurveda, please just like DM me and we'll have an open conversation here on the show about it. But for the purposes of this conversation, essentially 6 till 10 is kapha time. So 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. is kapha time, which is earth grounding energy. It's your restorative time. 10 till 2, 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. is Pitta time. Pitta time is this fire energy. It's like a get it done energy. And then 2 p.m. till 6 p.m. is Vata time. Vata time is this airy, flowy, creative energy. Then repeat. So then we have 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. is Kapha time. So this is your restorative time, the time where you should be going to sleep and doing grounding practices to get to sleep. Should you go past 10 p.m., you're now in pitta time. So if you get your best work done between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., and I have a friend that she's a writer and she does this is fire energy time. This is because this is the cycle of the day. So of course you want to write and you want to do all your work and you want to get it all done, right? And that's the time where I would have been working in the bar, right? And then 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. is Vata time again. So Vata time again is that airy, it's that flow, it's that creative energy. This is the time where I did want to try and figure out my essays and how I always wanted to write my essays in a way that was different, that was like really grounded in practice. So that allowed me to pull in my creativity. So after my job at the bar, I would go home and then I'd have 4 hours where I could work in this creative space. So if you're a night owl, try being in bed before 10. It could help. Like, this is just an extra side note that has been really beneficial for me and how I run my days. I run my business to this particular schedule, and that really helps me. I cannot tell you how much. So try it out and see if it's for you. If you're someone who really wants to wake up early, but you're convinced you're a night owl, you can't have both, my friend. You can't have both. And this is where we have to reparent ourselves and choose one. Because to wrap this up in a bow, you don't need more things to beat yourself up over. You don't. There's enough ammunition out there in the world of social media, in the conditioning that you have had from friends, family, work, from just society in general. There's enough that you could beat yourself up over. And I hope you don't, but there's enough for you to without your morning routine being a part of that. Without getting up early being your measure of success in a day, because it's not. It's not a measure of success. Or every successful person would wake up at the exact same time. So it's not, if it's not accurate for everybody, then it's not an accurate summarization in your mind. Okay. So, as I said, to wrap this up in a bow, you don't need more things to beat yourself up over. Make an empowered decision around when you want to wake up, which is in alignment with who you are, with what you want, and by reparenting yourself. And if we do think about parenting, I just want to like give this as an extra caveat. Ideally, we'd like to think that parents would be extremely loving and caring. Don't beat yourself up in this process. Imagine you might have had the world's most wonderful parents, and I love that for you. And if you didn't, because I know that some people that listen to this show, that's not accurate for them, imagine you did have the most caring, loving, and just like nurturing parents. How would they treat you? Just like my parents did when they were like, Becky, you have to go to bed because Santa can't come if you don't go to sleep. Then please parent yourself with the same amount of love and intentionality. And if you love having conversations like this around growth and good energy and no gaslighting, sorry, not sorry, hustle culture bros, then we would love to invite you to our next CEO Crowd networking event to connect with like-minded online entrepreneurs who are so just heart-centered, soul-led, the kindest people I've ever met. And you can promote your business to our network of over 275 of those women and have a safe space to land online. The details will be in the description. You are so welcomed, my friend. And until next week, we will be over here at the CEO Crowd, believing in you.